Heretic. Heretic opens with Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton, two missionaries of the Mormon Church. Barnes comes across as the more experienced and successful missionary, having converted at least 7 people she has visited with. Paxton is more innocent. They go around town trying to talk to others for conversion. On the street, they spot some teenage girls, who play a mean prank on Paxton by pulling her down. Paxton also talks to Barnes about how people mock their religion, but Barnes doesn't seem too bothered by it. As it starts to rain heavily, the ladies arrive at the home of an Englishman named Mr. Reed. They start to discuss their business with him, and he invites them inside. Barnes and Paxton explain to Mr. Reed that in order for them to come in, there needs to be a woman present for safety reasons. Mr. Reed assures them that's no problem, as his wife is home and preparing a blueberry pie. That sounds great to the missionary standing in the cold rain. Reed sits the girls down and chats with them on subjects such as religion, as he has done his own study on Mormonism and owns a copy of the Book of Mormon by Joseph Smith. The discussion grows quietly tense when Reed makes a comment about Barnes's father, as well as the nature of their religion, before he exits the room. Barnes then looks down at the candle that Reed placed on the table, which is the source of the blueberry pie smell. Barnes and Paxton get uncomfortable and try to find a quiet way to leave the house, as they deduce that there is no Mrs. Reed. Mr. Reed invites the missionaries into his study and launches into a philosophical and unsettling monologue on religion. Reed then appears to pull out something sinister, only for it to be an original version of the Monopoly board game. He then begins a lecture to the missionaries about how it derived from a previous board game called the Landlord's Game. Mr. Reed references the game's origins, highlighting its feminist roots before it was commercialized by Parker Brothers in 1933, which he connects to control dynamics in religion. Although Mr. Reed promises they're free to leave, he reveals that the front door lock is on an automated timer, forcing them to find another way out. Paxton and Barnes realize their bike lock key has somehow ended up in Paxton's coat, further hinting that Mr. Reed is only telling them half-truths. After Mr. Reed's lengthy diatribe attempting to refute all religion, he presents the girls with 2 back doors as their way out, instructing them to choose based on their belief. One door for those who still believe in God, and the other for those who do not. Barnes initially heads to the disbelief door, challenging his assertions before she and her friend ultimately choose the belief door. The door leads Barnes and Paxton down into an underground dungeon with no way out. Reed then talks to the ladies through a speaker as a decrepit old woman, referred to as a prophet, walks in holding a messy blueberry pie. Reed informs Barnes and Paxton that they are about to witness a miracle. He says that the pie has been poisoned and that the woman will be resurrected moments later. Elder Kennedy of the Mormon Church has noticed that Barnes and Paxton never signed themselves back in, so he goes out to the houses that they would have visited to ask around for them. When he arrives at Reed's house, Barnes and Paxton try to get his attention by screaming, and then by getting some matches to try and start a fire. But Kennedy leaves before they can do anything. Not long after, the ladies notice that the prophet has seemingly been resurrected, as she begins muttering a description of the afterlife. Reed comes down to the dungeon to boast about the miracle, but Barnes dismisses the prophet's experience as a typical near-death hallucination. As Barnes distracts Mr. Reed, she subtly signals Paxton to attack. Yet, before she can act, Mr. Reed unexpectedly slashes Barnes's throat, claiming she too will return from death, then recounts a story blurring the lines between dreams and reality. As Barnes bleeds out, Mr. Reed extracts a metal object from her arm, insisting it's proof that Barnes was artificial and part of a simulated reality. Paxton then tells Reed she knows that the metal item was a contraceptive device, and she knows what he really did. The first prophet really did die, but the resurrected one was another woman who was given a script by Reed to describe the afterlife. The second woman switched the dead one with herself while the girls tried to get Kennedy's attention. Paxton then goes down the trapdoor where the dead woman would be, which Reed lets her enter so that Paxton can see the one true religion. Paxton finds many other women in cages and comes to the conclusion that, in Reed's mind, the one true religion is control, especially since he tried to make them kill themselves and believe it was their idea. As Reed tries to taunt Paxton, she stabs him in the throat with a hidden letter opener that Barnes gave her for protection. She runs for an exit but doesn't make it far before Reed stabs her in the gut with the letter opener. As they start to bleed out, Reed says to pray for them. Paxton says praying doesn't really do anything and is more of just an act of kindness. She starts to pray while Reed crawls over to try and finish her, but he gets whacked in the head with a plank of wood with nails sticking out, killing him. The blow was dealt by Sister Barnes, who lives long enough before collapsing into Paxton's arms. Paxton finally manages to find a window to escape from, as it is now morning and the storm has cleared up. She sees a butterfly land on her hand, as she had earlier stated that she would like to come back as one when she dies. Paxton looks away for a second, and the butterfly disappears.